What's up, guys? Deep South Rush Garage here. Guys, in today's video, we have a 2006 Buick Lucerne with a 3800 series engine. The customer brought this car to me and said that he had a coolant leak. They had the water pump replaced sometime in the past, not sure when, but it's developed a coolant leak and he can't find it. He can see it dripping under the car. He can hear it when the pressure gets up, but he hasn't been able to hunt the leak down. So what I've done is I've done a pressure test and I found the leak, which is a pretty common issue with these 3800 series engines. I'm going to bring you guys in and give you a closer look and tell you what we're going to do to get this car fixed. All right, right here above this water pump, you'll see the timing cover itself. That timing cover is built in with the coolant jackets and all where your upper radiator hose connects. But that coolant was coming from right in this area right here. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to tear the front half of this engine down, remove that timing cover and replace that gasket that's in there. Over time, I've seen a lot of these gaskets leak like this. Now, it's been quite a few years since I've dealt with one of these 3800s. We're going to get tore into this thing and get it fixed and get it back to the customer where they can utilize their vehicle again. Now that I've showed y'all where that leak's at, I went ahead and pulled this balancer off, but I want to show y'all a little something about this harmonic balancer. This is your 3800 series harmonic balancer. Be very careful when you pull this balancer off. When you're running your bolts and your holes for your puller, be mindful that this balancer has a tone ring on the back of it. If you put bolts in it that are too long, you're going to bend that tone ring. And when you bend that tone ring, you're either going to get a misfire, a random misfire, at maybe different RPMs, or if you bend it bad enough, you may have a no-start issue that you could be hunting for hours trying to find, and the whole time, it'll be this tone ring. But listen, if you do happen to mess it up and you catch it before you put it back on, there's 3 bolts in this tone ring. You can pull it off and replace it with a new one. That's perfectly fine. But I just want you guys to be mindful of that when you're pulling this balancer off, that there's a problem here that you could create for yourself if you're not very careful. Now we got our water pump off. I'm gonna go ahead and focus in on going ahead and getting that alternator loose. Now listen, you probably, every time you take an alternator loose, you need to pull your battery cables off. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna slip it off, throw a little tape over the power wire so that it doesn't arc anywhere, and I'm gonna let it go with that. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get this alternator out of the way. Now that I got the alternator back over and out of the way, we're going to focus in on your alternator bracket. Now on these 3800 series, they have these little elbows that come out of the intake and out of your water pump, and they actually feed water to your heater core. So whether we're going to get those out without breaking them and be able to reuse them, I can't tell you that yet. But we're going to give it a shot. We're going to try to get these out. We're going to try to maybe do it without breaking them. Maybe at the most have to replace the O-rings on them. But if so, we'll go get new ones and put new ones in it. A lot of when they come from the factory, they'll be plastic, and those plastic ones are absolutely awful. They crack. They create a bad leak there. Most of the time, the customer doesn't know it for a while. They just start noticing they've run hot or the car's running warmer than normal, and they get out and they have it checked, and that's generally what it is. But let's get these tore down. Let's get this alternator bracket off and see if we can't just push it to the side, and let's see if we can do it without breaking those pieces. All right, once you get everything at the top side pulled loose, everything on the front side of the engine, then you're down to your timing cover itself. Now listen, things to watch out for. One, right here you have your connector for your crank sensor. You'll have a connector on both sides. Be very careful not to break those tabs. Get those connectors loose, move your wiring to the side, and you're also going to have another connector, if I can point it up in here to see. Right in here is going to be your oil filter adapter. And just behind it right there, there's an oil switch. Oil pressure switch. You want to make sure you pull that wire loose because that adapter is going to come off with the timing cover, and there will also be a gasket behind it that you need to replace while you got it off. All right, so let's get this timing cover loose from the bottom side and go ahead and take the bolts that's coming through the pan into the timing cover. Let's get all those off. All right, so we got all those bolts out now. I don't know if y'all noticed, but right here, this bolt right here was a little bit rounded off, and I wasn't able to get it with my 10mm socket. So I had to get a little ease out, inverted ease out to get on there to pull that bolt out. All right, now we got all the few bolts out that comes across the bottom, the ones that attach it to the oil pan, the ones that attach it down low to the engine block itself. So now we're going to focus on all the bolts that's up top right here. I'm not sure how many bolts is still holding this thing on. I'm going to have to just kind of feel around it as I go, because some of those areas you can't see in real well. You guys just watch, and we'll get that cover off there. So as you guys can see, this gasket that's underneath this timing cover is extremely degraded. But this is where your actual leak was coming from. This thing has got the coolant ports made in here to the timing cover. And what happens over time is these gaskets just deteriorate. This was probably a paper gasket of some kind on here, and the updated gaskets that they have for these are metal. So we're going to get this cleaned up. We're going to get the new gasket on. We're going to get the engine side cleaned up, and we're going to put this back together. You guys stay with us and watch us as we get this done.